Finally, we have been crying, we have been dying for some consistency from this Mets offense, and on the first night of a 3-game sit at Citi Field after the off day, the boys finally woke up. Spam those W's as you chime in the live chat right now, everybody watching live at a replay. It's your guy Wardy, and we're back at it with our latest Mets post-game show presented by Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets, as well as SeatGeek that has you covered for all of your ticketing needs. Make sure to utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase with our link down below in the description. We got our guy Casey with a $10 unsung hero of the night, Justin Hageman, 4 innings of 0 earned run ball. He did what Holmes and Soto couldn't. Provide easy, clean innings with a lead. Offense is going to get praised, but Hageman, oh my God, Hageman was an absolute beauty. Trust me, we're going to talk a lot about Justin Hageman, but we're going to talk about what was a historic night there. The Polar Bear making history at Citi there. He finally finds himself standing alone for the most home runs in Mets team history there. Not only does he smack himself bomb 253, he has himself a two-piece on the night with 254 as well. Polar Bear got the job done on the offensive end, and the same night where the Mets even blew a 4-run lead. And yes, you heard that correctly. They blew a 4-run lead, but it did not matter. They not only rallied back, but they showed exactly why the Mets still stand a chance this season. I understand the Atlanta Braves, they're not good, but these are the exact kind of teams I expect the Mets to go out and beat up on. How many games this season have we seen the Mets lose to teams below 500? One too many. They had to go out and make a statement, and that is right why we are rocking the home run apple hat tonight, because not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5, but 6 home runs, tying a home record for Mets franchise history. And what did Alonso also do? Become now the team leader, not just in home runs with 253 and 254, but also the most home run games in Mets history with at least 2 at now 25, surpassing Darryl there, who initially had 24 or so. So much history was broken by the Polar Bear and this Mets offense tonight, and even where Clay Holmes did everything in his power to make sure that maybe the Mets couldn't go out, maybe the Mets could not win this ball game, because on the same day that they sent Frankie Montas down in this bullpen, with Noah McLean being the inevitable call-up that we're going to see for Saturday, more than likely, everybody, is the same day that Clay Holmes proves yet again the biggest gambles by David Stearns in this rotation, and Holmes and Mr. Montas heading into the season are coming back to bite them in the you-know-what pretty much every single time out there. And I understand it's not like Holmes has been horrendous every single time out there, but at the exact same time, Buddy's not providing length, and he's becoming batting practice. That in itself is a problem, and that is exactly why what we have been proposing on the platform for the past calendar month now, to get some piggyback action going where you have Montas and potentially Holmes as a reliever, or vice versa between themselves and Sprode and McLean, and they kind of feed off of each other in outings. It honestly makes too much sense, and that's what we're going to break down more in this one. The home run accolades by the boys on the offensive end, the bullpen, what I liked versus what I didn't like in this matchup, everybody, and everything in between. Hit that like and subscribe button on your way in, folks. Let's spam the W's. Let's get the hype going as we always do, folks, because you guys know the drill by now. If you don't, let me enlighten you here, right now, guys. We got to let it rip as we always do after every big victory, something that we have not done in literally over a calendar week. Say it with me, guys. Let's let it rip with the one, the only, the official Mets post-game win jingle here on the WardyNYM platform. Let's effing go, baby. Finally, I can use this state again. Let's go!
Postgame! Postgame! Calling all Met fans, come and join us now. Talking about this game and gonna break it down. It's Mets Postgame!
Shout out to my guys Greg and Jordan, as always, with the official WardyNYM postgame jingle. No matter how much you guys love it or hate it, it is here to stay, and we gotta bop into our silly little dancey dance after every big victory in the course of the 162. Man, have I missed doing that. Seriously. Feels like forever since the last time I did that little dance for each and every one of you. Juliet, great member with a $5 holla. The home starting pitching experiment is over for 2025. I tend to agree with you. We'll see if the Mets agree. I'm not exactly sure if they do or not yet, everybody. I also do apologize if I was lagging a little bit. A little laggy getting this thing set up. I was literally out of town all day today. Got home right around the 8th inning or so to get everything set up. That's why we weren't live immediately after the ball game. It took me around 10 minutes or so. But that's okay, guys, because we got ourselves finally an amazing victory to break down. So many key things to get into on the offensive end, especially that I want to highlight tonight. Not just the polar bear and his greatness, but a guy who I haven't even spoken about yet. But I'm going to right here, right now, guys, because who stepped up outside of what we saw in the polar bear? It was plenty bats. I liked what I saw from star-studded Starling Marte. Cedric Mullins being productive yet again, lower in the order. Brett the Hitman with a fantastic day at the plate. Brandon Nimmo finally seeing the strike zone well again. But the big bat that I really want to emphasize in this one, outside the polar bear, yes, you guessed it, is Francisco Mother effing Alvarez. What a game for Alvy. Can we appreciate the greatness that is El Troll, hitting his first bomb for the first time since when he played the Halos there to begin that series there around July 22nd. Alvarez not with one but two ding-dongs on the day. He and Mbady go back-to-back. So easy, so smooth, so much you love to see. Love to see that from Alvarez. Man, did we need that. And he continues to play pretty solid baseball since coming back there from his latest minor league stint there. On fitting that on a night where the Mets have 16 hits and tie the most home runs ever in a game at team franchise history at home. In that same breath, we see Jeff McNeil, who's been one of the most steady hitters for the Mets this season, nowhere to be seen in the hit parade today. But that's okay, guys, because sometimes they're not going to step up, and this was how the ball game ended. Mind you, Tyron Taylor came in for Juan Soto after Juan had himself a 1-for-4 day on the offensive end. We're going to break down everything that you guys need to know, the ins and the outs about this ball game, as well as the pitching end. Clay Holmes, step right up and meet yourself some batting practice. What did Clay Holmes just do, everybody? As I just relayed, yet again proved why the Mets cannot rely on Clay Holmes or Frankie Montas in this rotation. They're way too much of a liability. They do not provide length. Clay does not have nearly enough put-out pitches. That kick change that we raved about so much in spring training in the first month of the season feels like it's a shell of a pitch that it once was. It is not getting the swing and miss the bite they're hoping for. Clay's obviously dealing with the ebbs and flows of a 162, being stretched as a starter for the first time in a hot minute, going back to 2018 with the Pirates. But listen, these were the biggest gambles that David Stearns took heading into the year with the rotation. You can't say it was Griffin Canning, because Griffin Canning was a guy that far exceeded expectations, but he was not a guy that we were immediately relying on to necessarily be that guy right away, the way that we felt that way with Clay Holmes, and then when healthy with Frankie Montas, because how can you not feel that way, and you're investing $34 million in the guy between this year and next season? So for all those reasons, listen, David Stearns is not perfect. We're watching in real time here. His decisions heading into the season with the rotation weren't the smartest. We all call this out to a degree. I like the Clay Holmes move initially, but what we have seen in the second half is that lack of length continues to kill this team. Now, the Mets had some stability on the rotation front outside of guys like David Pearson when it comes to length. I wouldn't care nearly as much, knowing that at least they have support from other sectors of the rotation and the bullpen, but right now they don't. So what do the Mets need to go out and do? My humble opinion, the opinions of many, they have to go out and do exactly what we have been calling to do for the past calendar month. Start to piggyback them with the kids. You have nothing to lose at this point in the season. All you have is to gain. Brandon Sproat and Noah McLean have such high upside for this team. The Mets have three top 100 MLB pipeline prospects on the pitching front. It's Noah McLean, Brandon Sproat, and our coveted Jonathan that's getting his Syracuse tenure started. So guys, when we look at the pitching today, Gregory Soto we see in there, Justin Hageman was the star of the show. If Hageman can somehow, some way come in and be this long reliever for this Mets team that we have been dying for, then I'll be absolutely ecstatic and pumped up as a Mets fan. This was a great showing, just like what was the case with Austin Warren over the past week. But sadly, that Austin Warren outing didn't matter because the Mets lost. Today, finally, Justin Hageman goes 4-shutty to close out the ball game, and the Mets win this one rather comfortably after the Atlanta Braves had us all shaking in our boots big time when they initially tied at 5-5. Let's go up here in the chat. We got my guy Juan, great member moderator. We need this one. Starting pitching still oh, it's absolutely still We're going to talk about the flaws here in just a second, everybody. But let me enlighten you at least a positive. Billy Dottie with a $2 holla. Justin Hageman saved the season. Congrats, Pete. He was fantastic. Blindbeard, finally, hell yeah, a win. Polar Bear, Pete, 50. Oh, you love to see it when it comes to Polar Bear getting all the way to 254. Say less, my friend. Blindbeard, thank you so much for chiming in. As always, a great member here in the chat and a longtime follower. Blindbeard, I've had the privilege of hanging out with multiple times this year at spring training as well as at our Wardy Day. Let me just get this focused real quick on the camera, everybody, and then we'll go from there. Come on, you schmuck of a camera. Focus. Come on. Ayos mio, come on. This happens every once in a while, and it's just out of focus enough to drive me nuts. So apologies if you guys are getting some Wardy ASMR real quick, but you're going to get some Wardy ASMR. Nice and up and close. There we go. Took you long enough, you pain in the ass. All right, pardon my French, everybody. I'm hyped up today, if you guys can't tell, especially when the Mets have how many hits? 16 hits, and the biggest stat of all today is not just the Polar Bears surpassing Darryl Strawberry, which we knew was inevitably happening this year, but it's not just Francisco Alvarez hitting 2 home runs. Folks, the most important stat of the day is how the Mets responded after the Atlanta Braves tied this ball game. For the Mets to respond after blowing a 4-run lead, instead of rolling over and dying, as well as hitting 500 with runners in scoring position tonight, you can't ask for much more on the offensive end. So that is what we're going to roll with when it comes to the positivity, as well as the key takeaways from certain guys like Justin Hageman, among others there on the pitching end, everybody. So final thing before we break down this ball game, I'm not going to be as long-winded with our post-game shows like I typically am. I have a short night tonight because I got a lot more things to do in my personal life. Nothing bad, just got a lot of hectic things going on right now, so I'm going to settle them. But we got a ball game to break down, and I got comments to answer, questions, reactions from each and every one of you amazing Mets fans. So if you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe on your way in. Let me know your initial reactions. And the Mets not only blowing out the Atlanta Braves to snap their 7-game losing skid, finally having more than one victory after initially dropping 11 of their past previous 12 games in such dramatic fashion in all these ball games. Have to love to see how the Mets were able to respond with their resiliency on the offensive end in this one, guys. And thank you guys for helping us get to 35,000 subscribers. We're getting so close to there. Once we hit 35K, we're giving away another Mets jersey on the platform. We give away a new Mets jersey after every new 1,000 subscriber milestone on the platform. So we've already given away 2 Juan Soto jerseys this year, a Brandon Nimmo jersey, and another jersey giveaway that we just did over the past couple days. And we got another one coming real soon, guys. And shout out again to our amazing sponsors at Moo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets, and SeatGeek. But enough of me rambling as I always do. Let's go ahead and let's break down what was a fantastic ball game here for the Amazons. When I say fantastic, I mean in the sense that it had a little bit of everything. If you were in attendance there at Citi Field today, which I was being honest by telling you guys, if you didn't go out your way to attend Citi Field for this series, I didn't blame you, right? Steve Cohen even said pregame today on X, he finally spoke up in Uncle Steve, and he did go out to say that, yes, the Mets really aren't playing their best baseball right now, but I still believe, and I'll be in attendance for all 3 games at home, which makes sense for Steve considering they're at home. But regardless, everybody, the key takeaway is how the Mets were able to respond with their resiliency on the offensive end, and also let me make sure that I stop having this damn glitch with the highlights today. I go out of my way to cut up these highlights, make it all nice for you, and beside me has to go out and lag like the mofo that's finding itself being right now. So I do sincerely apologize for that. We're going to rapid fire break down the ins and outs of this ball game here in just a second, everybody. But if you haven't, make sure to continue hitting those buttons and let me know how you guys are feeling as the Mets finally snap that 7-game losing skid. Shout out to the Polar Bear. He's without question the star of the show in this one, rightfully so. Gotta love ourselves some Polar Bear Pete Alonso. All right, guys, now let's get into it and let's break down how this ball game began, because offensively, Atlanta got off to that early lead that we saw right away. In a very fitting fashion, the Mets find themselves at least down a run, and that would happen because Matt Olson rips the leadoff double right away that we would see there, or not necessarily leadoff, but he gets the double there right away against Clay Holmes and the Mets. And after we would see that double by Matt Olson right away after the Jurickson Profar walk, Drake Baldwin then grounds out, and quickly in the snap of a finger, in the blink of an eye, it is 1-0 Atlanta. Thankfully, Clay Holmes would be able to get out of that after some nice back-to-back strikeouts on Marcell Ozuna as well as Harris II. But then we find ourselves in the bottom of the first inning where the Mets roll over right away, 1-2-3. Nothing to show from the big bats to start the ball game. In the bottom of the second, we see Clay Holmes work around a Vidal Brujan walk as well as a Nacho Alvarez. No, not Francisco Alvarez. We're talking Nacho Alvarez with a single, but a huge double play turn there on Nick Allen gets it out unscathed for Clay Holmes and the Mets. In the bottom of the second, we see the Polar Bear do what? We see Pete Alonso go ahead and rip himself an absolutely fantastic double. The Polar Bear now with 30 doubles on the season, everybody. Then we would see with 2 out, who steps up yet again with 2 out, clutch RBI hitting, guys. One of the more sneaky pickups that the Mets found themselves doing at this year's deadline, and that is Mr. Cedric Mullins. Ceddy, as they love to call him. Mullins clutched up big time with a nice little bloopy there with 2 outs. Tied the ball game for the Mets now, and quietly, Cedric Mullins is putting up some really nice quality at-bats for the Mets after not looking so great his first week or so here in Flushing, Queens. And that's okay, because you got to get adjusted. I'm telling you guys, Cedric Mullins' bat is going to play out better than you think because how deep this Mets lineup is. Knowing that Mullins is going to be batting right around the 7th spot to 8th spot on a daily basis is really going to bode well when you look at the length that this rotation is currently providing. Lineup, rather. JoJo with the $5 says, thank you, Wardy, for doing postgame, although your schedule's so tight. Really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for hitting that like and subscribe button and being such a fantastic member, JoJo. I appreciate that a lot. We got Oek in the chat. Great member. We got Steve Long, great member. We got Juliet, great member. We got Juliet, as always, great member. Daniel Caps, great member in here. We got Truman. We got Juan. We got all you guys. Jacob, chiming in live at a replay. Thank you guys kindly for spending some of your day, night, evening with your guy Wardy as we have some Mets baseball to break down together. Because after the Mets would tie the ball game 1-1, let's make it 3-1. Why? Because Francisco El Troll Alvarez said why. Alvy smacks himself an absolute bomb. Crazy to say this, but Alvarez hit just his 5th home run this season and his first bomb since July 22nd, but man, did he get all that one. Alvy goes a little oppo, and it's a nice big bomb to give the Mets at the time a 3-1 lead. And how big of a bomb was that by Alvarez? Let's take a look here at the exit velo. 110 off the bat against that schmuck and Spencer Strider. 413 feet there that we saw to right center. So listen, we know that Eric Chavez has been saying you gotta hit for all fields, regardless of the power. Well, Alvarez, since being sent down the minors and now back up, is not only providing more of that power and gap-to-gap ability, but he's doing a fantastic job on being able to do it opposite field as well. Alvarez is pulling the baseball more, but knowing that he has such natural power to go the other way on a flamethrower like Strider was all the more impressive. Gotta love what we saw there from our guy and El Troll. And especially to beat up on Spencer Strider, guys, no matter the status of this ball club, I think we could all agree Spencer Strider just is not a good pitcher against the Mets. I don't know what about the Mets that he just absolutely rolls over and dies, but he's been doing this really since the Mets got themselves a quality outing against him that we saw in 2022 when the Mets, remember when they had that massive series right in the heart of the summer with Jacob deGrom pitching one of the doubleheaders. The Mets, I think, won 3 out of 4 games that series. If not, they swept the whole thing. Strider was saying how they got lucky, all this stuff while he's sipping his chamomile tea like the little wuss that he is. Regardless, he can take that little porn stash out of here because the Mets rocked Strider so effing bad today that we're not even at the point of breaking down just how many runs he gave up. We're breaking down a decent amount, but I promise you, there's a lot more to be said here. Because after that 3-1 lead for the Mets, we'd see Beatty just fly out there deep to left. Great play there by Jerkson Profar, Mr. Royd Head himself, and we find ourselves on the top of the third. And speaking of steroids, Jerkson Profar leads off the inning there in the third with a leadoff walk. After Matt Olson would strike out, we would see Profar steal his 4th bag of the year there, and then Drake Baldwin thankfully hit into a double play in that end of the inning there. Nice little bad funnies, a little blunder there by the Atlanta Braves. Getting caught between 2nd and 3rd is what we saw there, and Jerkson Profar, he's out at 3rd, and the Mets get all the outs there to get out of the inning, which you love to see. Jonah with the $5. Thank you so much for that. Mets can come back in the standings, build on tonight's win, fire Eric Chavez, which I don't disagree with you on, even after the big offensive night. Make another 2 games in the standings before they see the Phils again. I could not agree more, Jonah. I hope the vibes can continue, because if the Mets roll over tomorrow, I'm going to go and want to slam my head on this table with each and every one of you guys watching live. Mario, great member, as always. Happy to have you in the chat, my guy. Thank you so much for chiming in. As we get to the bottom of the third, though, everybody, we would see right away, okay, 2 outs after Lindor and Soto do a whole lot of nothing. So who steps up with 2 away? It's Brandon Nimmo. That's who. Brandon Nimmo with a clutch single with 2 away. Then the Poor Bear, everybody. Pete Alonso said, it's time to shine. Pete Alonso said, we're back home. It's time to make history. Alonso does exactly that. What an absolute blast of a bomb. His 27th of the year. The Mets take a 5-1 lead, but the greater story is that he is now standing alone, officially surpassing Darryl Strawberry for the best home run hitter now in Mets team franchise history. Think about it, where the Mets would be if they did not bring out Alonso back for the 2025 season. Seriously. It goes without saying, guys, but the Mets need to do everything in their power to make sure that the polar bear is here for 2026 and beyond, especially knowing that there really aren't any first base options at the end of the year that will say, why should we replace Alonso with him? There really aren't any. The only exception, I think, to a degree, was going to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but once he got extended, that talk was completely out here, and I know a lot of you guys didn't even want Vladdy to begin with. We want the homegrown talent to stay, and the fact that Alonso appreciates being a homegrown talent, how much he appreciates being the home run king now that I saw in his great post-game presser there with Steve Gelbs on the field after he got the nice splash. He deserves every single second of it, and then some. A roughly 400-foot bomb there for Alonso, 113 off the bat there, Spencer Strider, and that, as I said, gave the Mets initially that 5-1 lead, was 27th home run this season. After that, we would see McNeil on with a walk, Marte with a single, but unfortunately Mullins would strike out, but not before the Mets were up by 4. The problem, however, is that the Mets lead did not last nearly as long as it should have, and I think we can all agree there. That's where Clay Holmes couldn't get out of his own mess. We see Michael Harris with a 1-out single in the 4th. Ozzie Albies did the exact same thing. They go back-to-back. Vidal Brujan gets on with a walk, so just like that, the snap of a finger, it's bases loaded for the Atlanta Braves, and for Nacho Alvarez, of course, Nacho Alvarez has to do something against the Mets, and he does. He rips his 4th double of the year and makes it a 2-run ball game, but at that point, I think we can all agree, we were all shaking in our boots. It's the same exact story yet again. The Mets get an awesome, fantastic 4-5 run early lead, but it only lasts them so long because they could not find themselves clutching up after losing said lead. Thankfully, that was not the storyline this ball game, but it felt like that was the vibe that we were going to endure as this one was initially slipping away. Because after it was 3-5 there, a Mets lead, Nick Allen gets on with a walk, jerks some profile grounds into a force out, but that makes it 5-4. It's a 1-run effing ball game. Then Matt Olson, with his 2nd double of the day, his 30th of the season, ties the ball game 5-5, and that does it for Clay Holmes' final line, everybody. Step right up and meet batting practice, aka Clay Holmes today, as there was nothing to be desired in the case of Clay and how he pitched today. He's now up to a 3.7 ERA, but that doesn't tell the whole story. The ERA doesn't look bad on paper for a guy being stretched as a starter this year, but when you understand the context of the ebbs and flows that Holmes has had this year, he's either walking everybody and their mother, or he's getting no put-out pitches, or in the case today, who's doing everything wrong, which was exactly that. Not nearly enough put-out pitches, walking everybody and their mother, and not giving any length. A recipe for a disaster, which is why Clay Holmes gets a whopping 2 out of 10 from your guy Wardy. I thought he was below pond scum today, if I'm being completely blunt and honest. And I like Clay Holmes a lot. I really do think that there's potential with him, but clearly we're seeing that potential is limited, especially in a season where the Mets are in dire need of length from their rotation. The reality is that the Mets, knowing their rotation stats outside of Clay Holmes, cannot allow this to continue with the lack of consistency there. So do not be surprised if Clay Holmes too finds himself either utilized more as a reliever down the stretch or in a piggyback situation. Either way, I will be shocked if Clay Holmes in his next turn in the order is going out there without at least having some reliever or some type of other type starter that can be utilized for multiple innings. It makes no sense to do it otherwise because you are at severe risk of taxing your bullpen. If it wasn't for Justin Hageman saving this man's ass today, who knows what could have happened, right? Shout out to Hageman. He kept the Mets in this one. Even while they started to get their lead, Hageman had made sure that the Braves did not find themselves nipping back whatsoever. Because as Gregory Soto then came in the ball game, he gets a ground out there, and Drake Baldwin, who's having such a sneaky good rookie season for the Atlanta Braves this year. I hate the Braves so much for so many different reasons, but one of the reasons why I also hate the Braves is in direct fact with the following. The Atlanta Braves churn out catching every single year. Every single year. And this goes back to when Travis d'Arnaud first landed in in Atlanta. You can even go back to Mr. Brian McCann back in the day. They've always had solid catching. Even Anthony Recker, my former co-host of my previous Mets podcast in the past, Reck had his best season while it was a short stint there in Atlanta. He actually hit well. Point is that every single year it feels like the Braves continue to churn out great catching talent. They traded away even fantastic catchers in William Contreras and Shea Langeliers over the past couple years, which is insane to fathom, because if they had that duo of a catching tandem, it would be the best in baseball, no question right now. But they did because they wanted a Sean Murphy. They kept Darno for a little bit, and now what we're seeing is Drake Baldwin looks like he's going to be their guy there more long-term. So congratulations for Braves fans, but I hate it as a Mets fan. That's my little tangent for you. So now let's hop back to this one, and let's continue to break down the ball game, because we would see in the bottom of the fourth, everybody, the Mets would retaliate right away. And what is the common consensus with the Mets and their offense all season long? If they're going to hit, if they're going to win, they will respond within a half inning to a full inning of initially finding themselves down, or if it's a tied ball game. That's exactly what finds itself happening. Oh, look, we got Barry. Oh, how fitting, Barry McCockner in the chat. Love the troll name, my guy. If you're gonna at least troll, at least try a little bit harder. You can't even pick at least a decent name to have yourself pass by your BS home run record. Oh my goodness gracious, are your panties in a twist, my friend? It must suck to be you. On what day is it? On this Tuesday night, take a warm bath, get to bed, drink your chamomile tea like the Spencer Strider truther that you are, my guy, and get the hell out of here, you little schmuck. As we continue on from here, everybody, we would see Brandon Nimmo there. He has one man on base. No, he has two men on base there. Lindor with a single, Juan Soto with the walk. You got two on, everybody, and you got two out. What are you, Brandon Nimmo, going to do when you have not stepped up nearly enough at the plate? You looked horrendous over the past stretch of baseball for the Mets over the past week plus. Brandon, can you step up at home when the Mets need you to? Well, guys, listen, Brandon Nimmo did exactly that. Nimmo goes on to blast his 20th bomb of the year, everybody, and that makes it an 8-5 Mets lead, and they thankfully would never find themselves looking back. It was a roughly 390-foot bomb, 102 off the bat there, and as I said, Spencer Strider is nothing short of batting practice, but he has a 4.69 nice ERA on the year there, and it's kind of fitting that he has those numbers in hand with the stash and everything. I don't know what Strider's trying to prove other than potentially his sex appeal to some, but all I gotta say is, buddy, continue to come down to Citi Field, because we love to face Spencer Strider. Remember when there was a time where Spencer Strider was a big bad Spencer Strider, that everyone was so scared to face Strider? Even in the heart of those moments, even when that was the case, the Mets were still teeing off and having some big games against Strider. Now Strider is not the same guy that he was. He's in direct hand with the Braves, just having an absolutely dog-you-know-what year, and now we're seeing the Mets continue to do exactly what they have done every single season against this bomb, and prove that he is nothing more than a guy who throws gas but doesn't know what to necessarily do along with it. And I know I'm being really hard on Spencer Strider right now, but I'm doing it because the numbers back it. If the numbers didn't back it, I wouldn't be talking any smack, right? If the Mets just beat up on Strider for the first time in like his entire career, I would have nothing to say. I would just be like, finally, we beat up on the guy. But no, Strider could go on to have a dominant month of baseball, but all it takes is one game against the Mets for him to be shaking his little boots there, and his little, I'm going to leave it at that, and I just find it hilarious. I really do. It's an 8-5 Mets lead, and it would be beyond 8-5, as we would see in the top of the fifth inning, everybody. We would see there Ozzy Albies with a single after a Michael Harris single, then a Vidal Brujan fly out, and a Nacho Alvarez Jr. pop out. Fantastic inning of work there by this Mets bullpen. They get the job done, and Mr. Gregory Soto, which we love. In the bottom of the fifth, then, Austin Cox replaces Spencer Strider. McNeil strikes out right away. Marte strikes out, but with two outs yet again, and I'm loving Cedric Mullins more by the second. And Mario, I did not see your comment. Let me go up to see if I can find it, my guy. Okay, hoping to get off the 25th for Pokemon Go Day to see Mets kick the Phillies' ass. I do plan at being at Citi Field that day, August 25th, Mets Phillies barring changes, so be on the lookout for that. I believe that is a Monday. I can't wait for it. Got a special hat from the Pokemon store for it. That is sick, Mario. Hope you have an absolute blaster at the game today, that day, my guy. I hope to see you there as well. But guys, I'm kind of loving Cedric Mullins. Not only is his defense more than fine, but Cedric Mullins has been looking good on the base pass, which you love to see, and he's actually putting the ball in play constantly now with two outs. He's looking exactly like the kind of depth hitter that you want, batting 7 or 8. Like, he is so perfect in that role, and that's why I told you guys, even though he's in the sexiest name, and I'm not saying he would be the best pickup at the deadline, but Mullins can hold his own. He's a 10-plus year veteran. He knows what it takes to win. He's had plenty of success in his career, obviously, and now he wants a chance to win greater than he ever has with the Baltimore Orioles. Hopefully the Mets can actually find themselves putting him in that regard, having a deep run this year, because if they can, Mullins really feels like that kind of sneaky batter that maybe opposing teams forget about in the lineup, and then you're like, oh shit, Cedric Mullins just hit a 3-run bomb there in the NLDS. I'm not complaining about that. Are you complaining about that? Mullins, let me put it this way, Jesse Winker died so Cedric Mullins could live, in the sense of Winker went down with injury, right? That oblique injury derailed his season from the start. Leave it to Jesse Winker, and I love Jesse to death, but my God, can you be at least a little athletic? Jesse, and I love this mid. I really do. He's such a vibes guy. He has a home run swing when he's right, but the first play in the outfield that he tries to make this season, the first play ever, and that's more of, I guess, a lack of judgment by Mendoza to consider him even in a doubleheader outside DH. He tries to make one play with a ball in the left field corner in St. Louis, and he's out multiple months with an oblique strain. Then he comes back in his first game back flare up, but he's down right away. There's no immediate timetable for Winker. There's no immediate timetable for Siri, and because of all these reasons, the Mets had to go out and land another solid power-hitting lefty bat the way that they did here with Cedric Mullins. So far, so good. I'm not going to complain all that much. Mullins ripped his 20th double of the year there, and then Alvarez says, I might as well rip a gapper myself, but this time opposite field yet again, everybody. Alvarez goes into the right center gap, and he would make it a 9-5 Mets lead with his 7th double of the season. And it would get better for Alvarez before this ball game would end. But Brett Baty was like, I want to get in on the action at least a little bit. And that's exactly what happens. Baty goes back-to-back, not with the home runs yet. This time, go back-to-back with some clutch RBIs. You get an Alvy double, you get a Baty single, and the snap of a finger, baby. The Mets, who were initially tied 5-5 after blowing their 4 effing run lead, they make it a 10-5 lead. When was the last time the Mets responded while being up by 4, losing the lead, and actually winning in this fashion? To simply answer that, I don't remember a single win the Mets have done this season in that regard. Enlighten me as to when the last time was that the Mets blew a 4-run lead or more and rallied to win back as much runs as they put up on the Atlanta Braves. You can't find one. I think that this is honestly an anomaly of a win this year, which is why I love it even more. This is the kind of win that hopefully builds character for this club, better team morale, better clubhouse morale, because they need something, okay? It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be sexy, but the way that they were so resilient and rallying back in this victory is my biggest takeaway more than anything else. I think that's more important than Alonso's historic day, because as Alonso said post-game today, he's just focused on winning and doing everything in his power to help this Mets team well. Well, Alonso, you just did a fantastic job in that regard to help this Mets team get where they need to be. Because as we continue on from here, everybody, at the top of the 6th, it would be a 1-2-3 there for Justin Hageman. Revo with a 2-ha, great member. Thank you, my guy. Can we buy a pillow for Taylor's seat on the bench? That's hilarious. Thank you for that, though. We would see a 1-2-3 from Justin Hageman, his first of multiple fantastic innings today. Then the bottom of the 6th, we would see Pete Alonso with 2 outs, says, I want another one. I'm feeling a little selfish right now. I want to be the star of the night. And he already was, but Alonso smokes himself his 28th home run this season, his 2nd of the night. Now 254 on his career for the most in team franchise history. And now 25 games with 2 or more home runs, surpassing Darryl Strawberry yet again for another home run accolade. Step right up and meet the home run leader, aka the polar bear, and Pete Alonso. As we get to the 7th inning, everybody, we would see Marcell Ozuna with a walk. That's all she wrote, though. Fantastic work yet again there by Hageman. Then we see everybody in the bottom of the 7th there. Francisco Alvarez with 2 ways says, I'm not done with the offense today. We're getting a home run. And as I always say, you get a home run. 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 Alvy says, I'm going to take that ×2 tonight, baby. And Alvy does exactly that. His 6th home run of the year. He pimps that shit. Mets are up 12-5. And Baty says, how about we give you one more? You like 12? Let's make it 13. What's that significance of that number, everybody? 13 home runs on the season now for Brett the Hitman, more like Brett Bonds Baty. Shout out Baty, who's finally starting to see more of his swing as of late that we've noticed there. And it's fitting that Baty's finally starting to find that offensive upside again, right around the same time that we're starting to call his butt out for not playing great defensively or offensively to warrant the consistent playing time. Because for a while, we were like, Baty's got to play every day. And then when he was playing kind of every day, he wasn't performing the way you wanted for a month and a half straight. And you're like, I don't love that. Now Baty's starting to pick it up again. If Baty can just be a league average batter while being above league average defender, that is all we can ask for. That is all the Mets really need in this lineup. They just need to make sure that there aren't significant glaring holes the way that we've seen time and time again with Tyrone Taylor. And at times there in the kids when they are not hitting, like the first half of Francisco Alvarez. To a degree there we have seen with Ronnie Mauricio when he's not having the hot bat among others. Regardless, everybody, the Mets would be up 13-5. Lindor would get on with a walk. We would see Soto with a single, but that's all she wrote for the inning. In the top of the 8th, another fantastic scoreless inning there for Justin Hageman. And the bottom of the 8th, we see the Mets go down, nothing to show outside of a Marte 2-out single. Then the 9th, everybody, Matt Olson flies out Sandy Leon, who somehow still is in Major League Baseball, but he looked like he honestly reminded me so much of what a coach looked like, a manager. Because, buddy, oh my God, Sandy, I know you're like 40 now, but you're doing everything to show it. He's called out with strike 3, and then we would see Marcell Ozuna would strike out in the foul tip, and that does it for the ball game, folks. The Mets go on to win this one by a jaw-dropping final score of 13-5. And as we take a quick speed run into the Mets pitching, again, what we liked today wasn't as much Clay Holmes as it most certainly was what you got from Gregory Soto going 1.1 shutty, and Justin Hageman, the star of the day today on the pitching end. No doubt about it, Hageman did exactly what the Mets need to do today and then some. And unfortunately for Hageman, he's likely going to be sent down soon, because you can't imagine the Mets are going to keep him in the bullpen, knowing he's not going to be available for a couple days now, and the Mets are going to want that immediate fresh arm. So do not be surprised if the Mets find themselves sending down Justin Hageman and bringing back up Austin Warren. I think that's a move that honestly makes too much sense, especially if you want more length relievers and your bullpen. I'm not saying it's a guarantee to happen, but I'm just saying without putting much extra thought into it, that's something that I think is more than appealing to David Stearns and this Mets team. Don't be surprised if you see it happen, as Hageman just won 4 innings of 0 hit, 0 earned run, 1 walk, 5 strikeout ball for a 3.26 ERA. Now on the heading end, everybody, let's take a look at the following. Francisco Lindor with a 1-for-4 game there with the run scored and the walk. Lindor now is at a 243 average and a 735 OPS. We know he still has more work to do. Tyrone Taylor, TT, as we love to call him, came in after Juan Soto had a 1-for-4 ball game with a run scored, a 251 average and an 873 OPS. Tyrone, a 200 average, 546 OPS, and looking worse by the day, unfortunately. Nimmo, 2-for-5 with a big 3-run ding-dong, his 20th of the year, 2 runs scored, 251 average and 761 OPS, batting in the 3-hole. Batting fourth was the polar bear himself, Mr. Historic tonight is going to be the case, and Pete Alonso. Alonso, 3-for-5, 2 ding-dongs, love to see it, and a double, 3 runs scored, 3 RBIs, a 267 average, and an 880 OPS. We would see Jeff McNeil more like Jeff McNope, and nothing to show for Jeff today, surprisingly, as he would go over 250 average, 775 OPS. Starling Marte, 2-for-5 at DH, because again, buddy can bat right around 280 in his sleep. He's at 276 right now, so close enough with a 772 OPS. Cedric Mullins, another solid day at the plate for Seti, 2-for-5 with 2 runs scored, a nice clutch 2-out RBI as well, and a 2-out double. 227 average, 733 OPS there for Seti. Alvarez, can't ask for much more there for the Mets backstop today. Looking more like El Troll with the power. It's almost like it's supposed to make sense to instill confidence in your young blooming catcher with power, and to not make the guy feel like his hitting philosophy needs to go from a power slugger to a contact hitter. I much rather Francisco Alvarez strike out at a rate of north of 200 times in the season and hit closer to the Mendoza line if he's going to give you north of 30 home runs. Then I need to see Alvarez be a guy that's batting, say, 250, 260 while having a 700 OPS. I don't love that. But Alvarez right now is looking more and more like a guy who's just getting his career started. I think we're going to see him more polished than ever. I think we're not only going to see him hit for a higher contact, but see pitches at the plate better as well. He's batting 254 currently with his 761 OPS. That is not bad at all for your young catcher, who's still 23, mind you. Brett Beatty, 2-for-4 with a run scored there on the home run. 232 average, 710 OPS there. Not hating what I saw from Beatty in the Hitman today. So that's what you got from the offense, everybody, in this one. And as I said earlier, the Mets out-hit the Atlanta Braves. They doubled those schmucks by a final hit score of 16-8. The Mets had an expected batting average of almost 400, 394 to be exact. So yeah, Spencer Strider was serving up meatballs left, right, and center. The Atlanta Braves had an expected batting average of 239 in this one, everybody. And now the Mets, as we take a look at the standings right now, they still have their ways to go, but they're slowly but surely nipping out the heels. The Mets now still have a 2-game lead on the Cincinnati Reds, because the Reds unfortunately won today there for the sake of the wild card standings. The Padres are up 3 games. The Cubs are up 3.5 games on the Mets right now, and the Phillies obviously still have at least, I believe, a 5-game lead, but I'm going to double check right now in the standings just to make sure that that is the case. Yeah, it's a 5-game lead, so the Mets did gain a half game, I believe, on the Philadelphia Phillies over the past day. So not complaining about that, but when the Mets are 2-8 over the past 10 games, they most certainly need to start to get on a roll now before it's too late for the chance of still trying to win this division. Now, thankfully, the Mets still match up with the Phillies, and we have that massive series at Citi Field there around August 25th. So we're going to be locked in for that when it happens. No doubt about it, everybody. But before we get there, the Mets need to take care of business of what's right in front of them. First, it begins with getting the key series victory here against the Atlanta Braves. Second, it's to make sure that not only do you beat up on the Atlanta Braves, you need to win at minimum 2 out of 3, if not sweep this entire thing. You also need to step up, and what I'm very fearful of, transparently, I'm very fearful of what's going to happen this weekend. As we know, the Mets are playing in the Little League Classic there between themselves and the Seattle Mariners, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to be in Williamsport or Stowe. Again, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's where it's going to be. My buddies there taking part in it, which is really cool. Mariners versus Mets. Problem is the Mariners are on an absolute heater. I think they've won 8 straight. They've won the better lineups in all the American League after acquiring Eugenio Suarez again. Josh Naylor, who's such a fantastic first base / DH fit for them. They went from an offense that did not have nearly enough slugging to now having an abundance of it in the best way possible. Pair that with, in my opinion, one of the best rotations in the game currently and a rock-solid bullpen. It is not at all going to be an easy weekend whatsoever. And John, I would say the exact same thing when I know the Atlanta Braves are going absolutely nowhere this season. That's certainly going to happen. We're like 2 for 12. Oh, I know. Trust me, I know, buddy. I've been covering the Mets every single game and their wins and losses. They have not been good. They're 2-8 over their past 10, and they're 2-12 over their past 14 or so. That is correct, my guy. But what's also correct is that out of all the ways that the Mets could have won today, I think that this was honestly one of the more inspiring ways to win. Yes, you would have loved a blowout victory where Clay Holmes held the line and actually had a quality outing, but if Clay Holmes was unfortunately going to be dog-you-know-what the way that he was tonight, at minimum, we need to see this Mets team show some resilience, show some fight, and say, hey, we're not going to go out, roll over, and die just because of the fact that the pitching is not there for us today. And they went out and they did exactly that. Justin Hageman, pitcher of the game. Pete Alonso, offensive player of the game. Honorable mention on the offensive end is Francisco Alvarez. Those are Wardy's top 3 of the day, no doubt about it. Emerson, happy to have you in the chat. Wardy, what pitcher will they call up to start? Yeah, it's going to be more than likely McClain. Mike Puma of the New York Post reported earlier today that the Mets are leaning more towards McClain than Sproat for that initial call, which is why we broke down in our video earlier today that I did live from my car because I had to get that video out right away for you guys there. Initial reaction to Frankie Montas being moved to the bullpen, and now Nolan McClain looking like he's going to get the call. McClain's an absolute stud. If you guys don't know enough about Nolan, please make sure to check out all the previous content I've done in regards to Nolan McClain. I've talked about that guy more than most on YouTube when looking at any Mets-related content creator, and I've done it passionately because McClain has been Mr. Consistent all season long. From AA with the Rumble Ponies to now AAA with Syracuse, there is no more reliable starter in the Mets minor leagues, with the exception of Jonathan now, who just moved up to Syracuse, than what we're getting in Mr. Nolan McClain. And as Joel says, I wish both were coming. The good news is I do think both will be here sooner rather than later. I don't think Sproat is going to be long behind McClain, but as things are currently slated, Brandon Sproat is actually slated to pitch, I believe, this Thursday. McClain is not slated to pitch until technically Sunday, which is what makes McClain such a further obvious candidate to pitch this Saturday in Frankie Montas' spot. What I could see happening is Brandon Sproat starting Thursday, and then his next turn in the order, he would find himself with this Mets team. Or maybe they call him up there for the next time that Holmes would be pitching, because if Clay would be set to pitch, when would he be set to pitch next, Clay Holmes? That would have to be on Sunday, right? It would be Sunday or Monday. So bearing that in mind, I'm curious what the Mets are going to do in the case of Brandon Sproat, among others. Carson Bench is going to be, Carson Bench has been amazing. I would argue Carson Bench could be in the bigs before the end of the season. Bench also, for those that don't know, is literally one of the hottest prospects in baseball right now. Like, not just in AA, now getting to AAA, Bench has just been jaw-droppingly good. That's why he's now the Mets' #1 prospect per MLB pipeline. That's what I've been telling you guys. Bench quickly became my favorite prospect in the org this year. It has a lot to do with the fact that he's getting better every single level that he's getting on. It's really impressive to see a kid who dominated with Brooklyn move up to the Rumble Ponies and hit even better. He was batting .400 for like 2 weeks, which was like insane, or close to. And now he finished his tenure with a just under 1,000 OPS and a 314, 315 average and a decent stint there in AA. Very excited to see what he does there and triple everybody the same way that I'm damn excited to see what the Mets can do tomorrow and try to finally secure a series victory, what feels like for the first time in forever. I honestly, off the top of my head, cannot remember the last time the Mets won a series. Did the Mets win? I'm trying to think. Did the Mets win a series at all? I'm trying to think. How many series have the Mets won post-All-Star break? Because it feels like it's been little to none. I'm going to double-check the schedule real quick, everybody, and then your guy Wardy has to get out of here. We're short leash with the schedule tonight, but I want to make sure we pumped out the post-game content for each and every one of you. So if you have enjoyed the coverage, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe on your way in and on your way out. Help us get to 200-plus likes by the end of the live show to all of our live viewers and everyone on replay. Help us get to 300-plus likes. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's go ahead and let's see right here. So since the All-Star break, the Mets have won one series, and that was there against the LA Angels. Oh yeah, and then we swept the San Francisco Giants in San Fran. So yeah, the Mets have not won a series here in the month of August. They have not won more than one single game up until today, post trade deadline. So to say this one was needed is an understatement, but it's just far from enough. The Mets have to get on a run here. They need to take advantage. If they're going to be the streaky mofos that they're going to be this year, then it's time for them to go from this losing streak of dropping 7 straight games to now winning 7 straight games. That is what Wardy has to say about that. But guys and gals, thank you again so much for watching our latest post-game show. I got to run, but I really do appreciate all you guys watching live at a replay. Let me know all your further thoughts and reactions to the Polar Bears' great night there at the plate. Standing alone now is home run king in Mets franchise history. And be on the lookout for more content that we will have for you guys tomorrow. We'll have post-game content. We may have a pre-recorded video prior, depending on what news may or may not come out. Outside of that, though, guys, just be plugged in. Be on the lookout because we have a lot of amazing things cooking here on the platform real soon. Thank you, guys.